Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can play it, it's all about pain. And who's gonna make it?
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to The Game on Eagle 95.1 and online at EagleRadio951.com. My name is Scott Nason, broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Monday night, March 18th, 2019. And we're going to be joined by host of the Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario, Mr. Electric Avenue himself, Dave McCaig, who is making his way across the border as we speak, as we have a lot of local sports to cover. We're going to talk about high school basketball finals. We have some quarterfinals going on involving one Eastern Upper Peninsula team, and then lots of hockey. Laker hockey, Sault Greyhounds playoff hockey, Sault Eagles and Sault Thunderbirds playoff hockey. Then around 6:40, we'll be talking to Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, who will get us up to date on the Metro Detroit sports scene. Now the game, the first hour on the radio here on Eagle 95.1 from 6 to 7 o'clock. The full 2-hour show, which includes the bonus roundtable, can be heard in two places, actually three. You can hear it on thegamesportshow.com. You can also go to thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Or if you happen to go to that thing called YouTube, just look up my name, Scott Nason. You can find the channel and hear all our previous broadcasts. Our broadcast engineer tonight, Katie Wollan, back in the Eagle 95.1 studio. She'll be joining us for the second hour here at the Wicked Sister. Come on down and join us at the Wicked Sister. It stopped snowing. Weather not too bad, as we're just about a day and a half, maybe a little under 2 days from the start of spring, which will be on Wednesday, I believe at 5:56 p.m., not to get exact, but yeah, we're under 2 days away from spring. And the Wicked Sister is having lots of events all spring long, including on Thursday, April 4th, as they will have their Founders Tap Takeover. Wicked Sister will have KBS while it lasts, along with 6 other Founders beer. Some really good ones, and kegs will be tapped at 11 a.m. on Thursday, April 4th. And Joe from Founders will be joining the folks here at the Wicked Sister for that great event. Well, we have lots of local sports to cover, and boy, we've had a lot of things happen over the past week. Let's start in girls basketball, as the spring sports season actually begun last Monday. We're talking track and field, we're talking softball, baseball. Now, it's going to be a while before the softball and baseball teams will get on the field, as well the track and field teams, but I did happen to see some of the Sault High track and field participants running along the narrow roads of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. Coach Martin was out there. I think he had his bullhorn or whatever he uses to get these folks to get motivated. So the spring sports season is officially underway, but we still do have one winter sports team that is still going. And no surprise, it's the St. Ignace girls basketball team, as they continue their road to the Van Noord Arena at Calvin College. Now, that's not a joke. That's an actual place or location that the girls' basketball finals will be held. Not at the Breslin Center this year. We're going to talk about the boys' finals this past weekend, including some big controversy in one involving an Upper Peninsula team. But the girls, they are playing in Calvin College, and well, when the decision was made for that, I kind of scratched my head, and this is nothing against Calvin College or the Van Noord Arena or Grand Rapids as a whole, but couldn't you find a bigger venue to host the girls' high school basketball championships than a Division III college at the Van Noord Arena? you would think that maybe the Michigan High School Athletic Association would have looked for other venues. And again, I don't know the details. I don't know what all went into it, but you scratch your head. I think it's a little bit unfair that the girls get to play at a Division III college where the boys last weekend played at a Division I college, but it is what it is. And so that will just leave that alone. St. Ignace, they're 25-0 on the season. They are going to be in quarterfinal action in Division IV. The artist formerly known as Class D, as they will take on Baraga in Escanaba tomorrow night, Tuesday at 7 p.m. As the Saints, they're looking for their sixth state championship in the last 20 years, and their first since 2015. And they've had a virtual cakewalk in the postseason at this point. Really have had no trouble. They walked through their district, and then last week in the regional in Pellston, these are regional scores. They beat Hillman 72-12. And then in the regional final on Thursday, all over Mackinac City by the score of 71-17. In that game, Emily Koivu, she had 25 points for the Saints, while Allie Schultz had 21 points in the regional final. Now, Baraga, they knocked off Stevenson in their regional final last week. And they entered the quarterfinal against St. Ignace as a big underdog because St. Ignace is rolling. Some have said maybe the best St. Ignace team of the past 20 years. It may be their most complete team as far as 1 through 12. But this is a dangerous team. They are 25-0. And I would be shocked if they don't get to the state final in Calvin College and take home the trophy. Now, the winner of Tuesday's game between St. Ignace and Baraga, they'll advance to the semifinal at Calvin College on Thursday at 5:30. They'll take on the winner of the Tuesday quarterfinal between Kingston and Clarkston Everett Collegiate. The other quarterfinals in Division IV include Gaylord St. Mary's as they take on Fowler, and Fruitport Calvary Christian as they will take on defending D4 state champion Adrian Lenwini Christian. And so good luck to the Lady Saints, 25-0, looking for their sixth title in the last 20 years. The only other girls UP team that's still alive is in Division III, Ishpeming Westwood, as they will take on Lake City in a quarterfinal on Tuesday in Gaylord. The Straits Area Conference named its all-conference players in both boys and girls basketball. St. Ignace senior Emily Koivu was named SAC Player of the Year as the 6-foot senior forward averaged a double-double, 23 points a game, along with just under 11 rebounds, 3.5 steals, and 2 assists for the Saints. She also broke the 1,000-point career scoring plateau this season. Other players on the All-SAC team include sophomore Haley Marshall from St. Ignace, senior Ashton Bell and junior Melina Robertson of Sioux High, and senior Sierra Molina of Rudyard, and senior Adrian Depew of Newberry. For the boys in the Straits Area Conference, it was Rudyard senior Paul Staker named Player of the Year, as the 6'5" guard led the Bulldogs to the SAC championship, averaging just under 21 points, 9 rebounds this season. Staker was also part of the all-SAC team, along with forward Dylan Mills of Rudyard, Tucker Shepard of St. Ignace, and senior Rowan Warren of Sioux High. And the EUP Conference named their Girls Player of the Year, and congratulations to Rudyard senior point guard Sierra Molina. She was named EUP Conference Player of the Year, averaging around 19 points a game, 5.5 steals, and 4 rebounds. And she also became the 5th ever basketball player in Rudyard school history to reach 1,000 points, finishing her career with 1,148 points. And she was part of the all-EUP team, along with junior Darcy Bennon and freshman Kennedy Guild from the conference champion Pickford Panthers. Also on the all-EUP conference team were Newberry senior Adrian Depew, Brimley senior Kendra Carrick, and Cedarville sophomore Alyssa Cosley. Joining us here at the Wicked Sister, it has been way too long for this gentleman to join us, but we're happy to have him. He is host of the Game Sports Show from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario at Sports Center Bar and Grill, Icebreakers inside the John Rhodes Community Center, and Northern Superior Brewery. He is handsome, he's smart, and he knows his stuff. I don't know if he's single. I think he has a girlfriend. Dave McCaig joining us here at the Wicked Sister. Dave? How you doing tonight, my friend?
Good, and I should say first, girlfriend, yes.
Yes,
I definitely should say that off the hop.
Very good.
A little bit late upon arrival because the border wasn't too friendly to the Canadian on the way here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the passport's getting renewed, and I had to go there and use a driver's license and a health card because they don't give us a passport. It takes about a month and a half to get it. And the girl said this is not valid citizenship, and she wanted more, and I gave her what she asked, and she still sent it, and she gave me the card back with attitude.
Oh.
And I said, I apologize if you're not having a great day, ma'am. Have a great day. Hope it gets better. I don't know if that's good words to end before I go over the border, but it was kind of first time coming over here since January. So I didn't realize my passport was expired.
Oh, boy.
Until last week before I went to Ottawa and Montreal this past weekend with the girlfriend, actually.
Very good.
Busy week. And I'm glad to see you, Scotty. I missed it. I'm glad to be back here at the Wicked Sister. It's been far too long.
It has been far too long, and we have lots of time to catch up on local sports, Dave. We were just covering the high school basketball girls, which are in the quarterfinals. But I sent you a clip today, and I really wanted to get into this. We're going to talk about this with Butch as well, but the high school basketball finals for the boys were this past weekend at the Breslin Center in East Lansing. And, well, let's get through the three other games before we really get into the Division III game. The other finals in Division IV for the boys, Southfield Christian, a team that now has won back-to-back state titles. They had no trouble with Frankfurt, winning by the score of 62-39, winning their fifth title this decade. Many would say that might have been the best team in all the divisions. Division I was decided on a buzzer beater as Ypsilanti Lincoln knocked off the University of Detroit Jesuit 64-62 for their first ever state title. And in Division II, Hudsonville Unity Christian, they won their first ever state title as they edged out River Rouge, one of our schools that Butch Davis covers, in Division II by the score of 58-55. But the big controversy, and this was a big controversy, we talked about this, Dave, with the New Orleans Saints game when the referees blew a call. And I'm going to preface with this. I am an official. I do some umpiring for high school sports, softball and baseball. And when I do broadcasts on the air, I'm not one that's going to harp on the officials. You know, it's a tough job. It really is, especially when you're talking high school basketball. I think of all the sports, it's probably the toughest sport to officiate. However, when you get to the level like the state championships, you would assume that you have some pretty good officials. Now, the Michigan High School Athletic Association, they do have a process as far as getting these officials into the state championship games. For example, I've only been officiating for a few years. About the highest level that I can officiate at this point is the regional level because I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have a lot of ratings in because of my limited experience in officiating. But once you get to a state final, obviously you have officiated a lot of games. The state has decided that, you have earned this honor. I'm going to just preface that with what happened with the Division III final between Iron Mountain, the UP team that was still alive, as they took on Pewamo, Westphalia. Iron Mountain was looking for their first state title since 1939 on the home court of Michigan State basketball coach and Iron Mountain native Tom Izzo. And they were seconds away from winning the state title before a series of what you could call controversial calls cost them the title, as Pewamo, Westphalia won their first ever title by winning by the score of 53-52. Dave, I sent you the video. Let's set up the finish for maybe those that didn't see it or didn't hear about it. The Mountaineers had the ball. Iron Mountain had the ball up one, and it looked like an uncontested layup after a long pass up court. However, the official determined that the Iron Mountain player had traveled with 5 seconds remaining. Now, I might add that this was an uncontested layup. It was 2 steps. When you look at the replay, there was not a travel. They do not call that. You get 2 steps. It was a missed call. However, what really, to me, was the controversial part is there was an official right on the baseline that called nothing. It was an official almost 50 feet away that made the call. And, again, these are split-second decisions. I understand that, it's a tough, but they got it wrong. But Iron Mountain still was up one as the Pewamo, Westphalia had the ball with 5 seconds left. This was the other controversial call. So Pewamo ran it up court. Iron Mountain had a foul to give in that situation. They had 5 team fouls, so you could foul and not be at risk of shooting a free throw. You see it in basketball all the time when teams have fouls to give. They tried fouling before the Pewamo player got to midcourt. Finally, the Iron Mountain player wrapped his arm around the Pewamo player, the official called intentional foul. Now, this is something that the Michigan High School Athletic Association, and their point of emphasis before the year, they always have the officials go through rules meetings, and there's points of emphasis that the state wants to do. Now, this was one of their point of emphasis this year. However, in any game that I saw all year, this was not called. You see it in basketball. Intentional foul is when somebody's going underneath the basket and you hack them and you knock them down. Not when you're trying to maybe foul to run out the clock. So they call the intentional foul. Palma Westphalia makes 2 free throws. Iron Mountain loses by the score of 53-52. And after the game, the coach for Iron Mountain was upset, to say the least. He quotes, "They call a travel on a made basket, an intentional foul on a play on the next ball." Asking if this is a controversial finish. He says, to have a state championship game come down to a play here or a play there, I respect officials, but man, judgment is critical. You got to forgive, I guess. I don't know. Right now I'm angry. I'm joyful. I'll be joyful for our effort. And sorrow is going to be, I don't know how that's going to get in there. Now, some of the players didn't take their runner-up medals for Iron Mountain. I believe the trophy was left on the court, and I do hear through the social media atmosphere that Iron Mountain still may be raising a banner for their state championship that they didn't get. Dave, I know I went through a lot there. You saw the video of the 2 calls. What do you think about this whole ordeal?
You know what I kind of examined? When I look at videos, I look at kind of the background and how things go, and kind of the sound was not clear to see for me, but you get when the player that received the ball to go for the layup, it was not a travel, first off. That is off the hop.
That was the worst of the 2 calls.
Definitely was the worst.
Yep.
You had players, though, from the other team calling a travel. Then that's when that was called. So it kind of didn't seem like the time, I don't know why the ref on the baseline didn't call. I don't know why they didn't have a meeting at court. You could do that. There's stuff that can go on with that. It was not a travel. 100% was not a travel. He caught the ball, took 2 steps, went in for a layup. You're allowed to take the 2 steps. You don't have to dribble. As long as it doesn't take more than 2 steps. Now, again, that's a judgment where you're in the heat of the moment and you make that decision, okay? And the ref from the baseline is going to make that call,
right.
Not the one from the 10-2 in the back corner, okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care what X-ray vision glasses you have on or what X-ray contacts. Trust me, I wear prescribed contacts. I can zoom in any place I go.
Oh, wow.
Okay, like, figuratively
I had
speaking.
no idea.
Figuratively speaking, but you don't make that call. You're not in the right position to make that call is my point. And I just find the controversy in the reaction of the opposing team players when they're starting doing this from the bench, and then the call was made, it seems. So that is the one thing. The second one with the intentional foul, we see it in the NBA all the time. We see it in the NBA. We see it in the NCAA college ranks, everything. It's the same rule where if you have that extra foul to take, and as long as you don't do it when it's underneath the net or
right.
Slam a guy down or anything of such.
It was half court.
It was half court, and I actually thought he fouled him a bit before.
He did, and they were calling the foul.
Yeah, they were not calling it.
The officials didn't do anything.
They didn't call anything. I kind of feel like in the first couple of plays, he reached in. He did make contact with his arm. That's a foul. He made the contact that wasn't called. He had to put his arm around him because he fouled him already 4 times. And the ref, who obviously does not know the rules of basketball, sorry to say, in that split second, he lost his mind. That is not a good call either. But the traveling one's the worst one. That is the most obvious clean layup I have seen. I've seen worse layups. I've seen MJ do dunks from dunks.
Watch LeBron in a game.
Yeah, LeBron takes 5 steps and does dunks and doesn't get traveling. Now I'm talking about the NBA in comparison to high school basketball here in state championships. But it was the referee has the ability to control the outcome in a game. And they can control it in a good fashion or a bad fashion. And this is a completely bad fashion and a very skeptical fashion as well. I don't like it. I'm not trying to start rumors that he's getting paid to make these calls at all. That's not the case. But at the end of the day, you are a referee that's been chosen to be in that final state game. You've been entrusted upon by the organization that high school or NCAA or NBA in the finals. Doesn't matter where you're at. You're the best ref in that ranking at your position, okay? It's like giving LeBron James the ball in the final second of the game. You're giving it to the best player, okay? In Kevin Durant, any of those big guys. You're just like the same thing for referee. You're the best refs around. You got to know to make those calls, and it is very, very unfortunate that Iron Mountain didn't get what they should have gotten, and them not getting a trophy and a medal. Listen, I'm all about sportsmanship. Trust me, I've lost big games. I've won big games, not in the junior ranks by any means. It was in the midget ranks where I've won games, and the karma seemed to bite me in the junior ranks where I've lost in the big games. So I've been there where you're upset to lose. But when you lose a game that's an overtime loss, a hard-fought game, or 60 minutes of a hard-fought game, or in basketball, 48 minutes, whatever it may be, then you take that medal or that runner-up trophy with pride. So you know what, this team, other team deserved it. I don't blame Iron Mountain for being like, nah, I don't want that. Yeah. You know what? I don't blame anyone saying they should put a championship banner up either. Why the heck not? They deserve that championship. They should have won that basketball game, and that is one of the most atrocious victories for an opposing team that I've ever seen, and almost in sports. I've seen a lot of losses go bad ways. Okay, I've seen teams blow leads. I've seen teams that, have had calls go their way and they come back into a game, but that is the most blatant non-travel, and that's the most blatant non-intentional foul that I have seen in basketball for sure. So that, I don't mean to chirp refs either, Scotty. I respect, especially with you being.
But you got to call it out at some point.
It is.
They blew it.
That is brutal, and I hope something's done. I really hope the league or something does an investigation. I know you can't take away the title.
No.
You can't do that, right? But I hope something is rewarded to Iron Mountain somehow to do something for them, for whatever it means that you can do to kind of help the sorrows. But I hope the referees get a good fine or something, or some investigations taking place where it tarnishes their reputation, because they did not do a good job refereeing that game, and they decided the outcome in just that split 3 seconds.
Two things to close us out, Dave, before we go to break. One, the Michigan High School Athletic Association does not allow an official to officiate, say, back-to-back state championships. They rotate it every 3 years. My opinion on that, if you got a good enough referee, you should be doing it every year. You see it in the NBA, you see it in NCAA basketball. If you're that good, you should do it every year. Michigan High School Athletic Association did respond today a bit on social media, on their Facebook page. I'll quote their statement just from a couple hours ago. We received hundreds of comments on social media about Saturday's Division III boys basketball championship game, and that is understandable. When a championship game played between two undefeated teams is decided by such a close margin, there will be strong emotions on both sides. However, continuing the controversy does nothing to benefit either of the participants, not the team that feels it had a championship taken away, nor the team awarded the championship trophy. The MHSAA office cannot debate judgment calls. Qualified officials are placed on the court to make those calls. We will continue to provide full support to our officials who have the courage to make split-second, real-time decisions in front of thousands of fans. So unfortunate, but hey, it's sports, and we'll talk more about that with Butch coming up here around 6:40. We're going to take our first break. Dave, you and I got a lot of hockey to cover. Greyhounds start their playoffs this week. Thunderbirds, Eagles in the playoffs, and the Lakers end their playoff season. A very successful year. A little disappointing ending to the season. We'll talk about all that coming up next on The Game here on Eagle 95.1.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game. Live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Scott Nason, Dave McCaig back at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Monday night. Come on down and join us. Good crowd here tonight. Always having a good time and good food and drinks here at the Wicked Sister. We're continuing our local sports talk. Dave and I have a lot to cover here in a short time. So, Dave, let's get right to it. Let's start off with the Sioux Greyhounds. They ended the regular season yesterday at the Gardens with a 5-2 win over the Saginaw Spirit. The Hounds will start the playoffs this week as the 3 seed in the West. The Hounds will take on Owen Sound, who they also took on last year in a battle in the semifinals.
That's saying it lightly.
Yeah, this one in the quarterfinals. Game 1 Thursday in Sault Ste. We're at the Memorial Gardens. Game 2 Saturday night, also in the Sioux, before the series shifts to Owen Sound for games 3 and 4 next Monday and Wednesday. Other seeds or matchups in the West, the top-seeded London Knights. They are the 1 seed as they will take on Windsor. Saginaw, the 2 seed, will take on Sarnia, and Guelph, the 4 seed, will take on the 5th seeded Kitchener Rangers. Dave, really 1 through 4 was not separated by much. The Hounds end up getting 3rd. You've talked a lot about the Hounds on your show. Where are the Hounds right now, in your opinion, heading into the playoffs? What's your thoughts?
I got to give credit to Brad Cochimilio a lot with our coverage here on the game with Brad Cochimilio with Sioux today for doing a lot of the really physical internal research with the Hounds.
Sure.
Because he's more, I'd like to say, in there with that, and he with doing all the coverage that I have with him and seeing with the Hounds this year from the beginning of the year. Remember, we were sitting here saying that the Hounds are they going to be are they a for real team? Are they the real deal? And you and I and Brad did say that this team has not really changed. I know they lost Verbeek, they lost Radish, they lost Kachuk, right? You lose some bodies like that of such. It's a hurt. Gettinger, which I feel wasn't a massive loss for the organization, to be honest. I feel like he was Cole McKay slipped in nice in the top 6 range for the Hounds this year. You had Hadashel, who had a monstrous year.
47 goals?
Yeah, he had absolute mammoth.
And he hasn't been signed yet?
No,
that's surprising.
And I guarantee you somebody named Kyle Dubas might be calling him.
I think so, yeah.
I just like with Cole McKay, who I figure will be drafted by the Leafs in the 3rd round this year. So, it's the Hounds this year are in a position where I think they could have been better than Saginaw, but Saginaw did that extra oomph at the deadline, got them a little bit over the hump, and Saginaw has just been absolute rolling. They haven't been able to get off that hot streak. They've been hot continuously. The Hounds had a little bit of a struggle. A couple weeks ago, they lost a couple in a row. They got inconsistent for a little bit there, and then obviously the Morgan Frost thing. There's some drama there with the Morgan Frost suspension or what was going to go on there.
Now he's out. How many playoff games? One?
Was it one? I
believe so, because he got 3-game suspension.
3.
Yeah.
So I think it's one playoff game. And with Brad and I, when we talked a lot, and also with Dane and Justin, is that the Hounds this year have a team that has the speed, that has the ability to finish. Villalta, I think, has a lot to prove in this year's playoffs. He did let a lot of goals last year in the playoffs, but
he's
a solid
veteran. And these other guys, I don't know, have veterans there in London or Saginaw, not quite the Villaltas.
But Bouchard and Boquist stay on the ice for London 35 minutes out of the game.
Sure.
Bouchard doesn't get off the ice. Saginaw is the team that I'm worried about, and that's the team that the Hounds will most likely play in the second round.
Yep.
And I know Saginaw wants the Hounds in the worst way, especially because of
last year. Yep.
Don
Cherry remembers that one too.
The hockey gods are a thing. Don Cherry has proven that. Sorry, my fellow Siouxites in Sioux, Ontario especially. But, I think that the Hounds have a team right now of speed, but it's getting in those games where they don't get nonchalant. People are going to wonder what I mean by that. They are a team that when they're in the offensive zone, they get, I feel, really creative in the offensive zone, and they do a lot of the toe drags, a lot of the dangles, a lot of the extra move that they don't have to make. Okay, when they actually stick to that plan where they're moving the puck in that offensive zone, they're an unbelievable team up front. That offense is lethal. When you have Hayden and Frost as your top 2 centers, you can do anything in junior hockey. Cole McKay is flourishing. A lot of the guys are doing extremely well. And Mac Hollowell this year, that guy is going to be a stud on the blue line for the Leafs within the next 5 years. Mark my words, he will be a Maple Leaf.
They need help back there.
They need a lot of help, especially after I watched them in the Canadian Tire Center.
What the heck happened to Ottawa?
I don't know what happened there.
Why is Ottawa winning? Why are the Red Wings winning?
I don't know why teams are winning. But
lose for Hughes. Come on, guys.
But the Hounds right now are in a position where they have Owen Sound in a position of being higher ranked, but you cannot underestimate Owen Sound. Okay, I've seen that team play this year. That team is a hard-working team that can put the puck in the net, and I know that they want the Hounds too because of last year. So, I feel like a lot of people might feel the Hounds might be a 4-game sweep here. I honestly don't think so. No. Owen Sound's a very tough hockey team that the conference is very deep. I even think London might not sweep Windsor. I think Windsor has a chance to win a couple hockey games against London. So the Hounds, I think their keys to success in the playoffs is sticking to the simple game, going fast, going fast, keeping it simple there really, but I mean really using their speed. But Matthew Villalta is going to be a big piece of that.
I agree.
If Matthew Villalta is hot, that forward and D-core will be hot. They'll ride off his momentum, and they will have a chance to come out of the conference this year. I will say right now, the winner of the second round that I predict is going to be Saginaw on the Hounds. That will be the team to go to the OHL championship.
The Hounds had a good success against London this year.
They have. The Hounds have played very well against London. They play them well. They play the D. They pressure them very hard. Villalta's played hot against them each time he's played against them. But I really think that the Hounds have to be very smart and keep it simple in the playoffs here. And when they're on the boards, use that cycle game to their advantage. This isn't the old-time hockey where you're 6'5", getting beat up in the corners anymore. You can be 5'8", 5'9" in the corners. You come out against a guy who's 6'3" easily because he can't do the same things he used to be able to do to you. The speed is essential with the Hounds, and keeping your composure is going to be huge with that team, with a lot of their leaders, Hayden and Frost included. And I really think the Hounds have a roster that's deep, and they can do a lot of good things, and I am very, very, very excited to see what this team can do. I think they have as equal as a chance to get as far as they did last year this year.
The fun begins, and we'll be there covering it for the game. Dave, a couple more hockey notes. Laker hockey, Great season for the Lakers, finishing with a record of 23-13-2. However, they were swept this weekend in Mankato by the top-seeded Minnesota State Mavericks, losing on Friday 2-1, and then getting shut out on Saturday 2-0 in the WCHA semifinals. Minnesota State will host Bowling Green for the WCHA championship game. But you look at this Lakers season, Dave, finishing top four, winning a home playoff series, most wins in a season since 1995-96. You had the leading goal scorer in Diego Cuglietta, and a whole bunch of WCHA honors, all academic honors, and by all accounts, a very successful season, a very needed successful season for Coach Damon Witten and the Lakers. Witten in his 5th season. There was many, including some on this show, that thought 4-year contract extension, what's going on there? But I think the Lakers silenced those critics, and it was a successful season for the Lakers.
It was fantastic to see that. And, this town here in Sault, Michigan, and also Sault, Ontario, because we're big Pride followers and with the LSSU Lakers too, that we've been craving some successful hockey in the NCAA. So I'll say right now with the Lakers, they should not hang their heads low for this. They should be hanging their heads up high because they've had a very accomplishing season. They played every game. They were underestimated a lot this year. No one thought they would do this good.
23 wins. This is a team that didn't make one of 2 teams in the whole nation that didn't make the playoffs.
And Minnesota is probably, I believe, they're the favorite against Bowling Green.
They're top 3 in the nation.
Exactly.
And they have a goaltender that's lights out.
Exactly, and that's where they didn't lose both games against Minnesota in a bad fashion. It's not like they lost 6-0. Losing 2-0, and the first score was
2-1.
So tight games, and the Lakers were in each game this year. The games that they lost, they were in each game. They won the Great Lakes Invitational in Detroit. That's a big deal, beating State and Tech. So I Lake State fans, be excited. I'm hoping that they can continue and ride off the success and continue the success in this program, and hopefully one day bring back the glory days that we used to see in the late 80s, where early 90s, where I was just a baby. But I know all the stories, and it would be awesome to see that arena just bursting at the seams with the Lakers getting back to those glory days.
9-year stretch, Dave, 3 national championships, a runner-up, 9 NCAA quarterfinals appearances. It was unbelievable. You had the Hounds winning then Memorial Cups.
Yes.
That was the heyday. Hey, you know what? It can get back to that. Who knows? Congratulations to the Lakers on a very successful season. Dave, let's wrap up our segment here with the NOJHL, as all sorts of activity going on in the conference semifinals as the Sioux Eagles and Sioux Thunderbirds started their semifinals. Let's start with the Sioux Eagles. A tough couple losses on the road, kind of like the Lakers. Very similar action. And it was the goaltender for Rayside Balfour who, he was the backup goaltender throughout most of the regular season. Somebody you're familiar with, David Bowen, the son of Leafs legendary and Game Sports Show guest Joe Bowen. He had a very good weekend, making 35 saves in Game 2 last night as Rayside won that one by the score of 1-0. Rayside also won Game 1 by the score of 2-1. So the Eagles down 0-2 to Rayside. Games 3 and 4 will be at Polar Stadium Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Friday night, 7:30. As, Dave, we knew it was going to be close. We knew it was going to be tough. This series isn't over, but the Eagles, they're going to have to win 4 out of 5 against a hot goaltender. How about the play of David Bowen?
David Bowen, I can hear the Holy Mackinac from the show right
Holy
now.
Mackinac, indeed.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? He's a friend of the show and friend of mine, and he's definitely he's very proud of his son, and he rightfully should be, especially after that performance against, sorry to tell Eagle fans, but, he definitely deserving. The goaltending is so huge in the playoffs, especially in the NOJHL. I can think of goalies.
Yeah.
Randy Willis and Blind River. Michael Doan, God bless him, with the Eagles when he was there. Billy Stone when he was in Blind River. And Ryan Dubé when he was with the Thunderbirds. And the name goes absolutely on. Names go on and on. And I really think that David Bowen has the ability to steal a series. He's already proven that he can steal games. Rayside Balfour is one of the higher seeds in the league because they have the team, and they've been pretty deep. The Eagles, though, you got to go on the other side of that coin, that they're not a team to take lightly either, going at the Polar Stadium. Not playing in that environment in the playoffs, been there on both sides of the benches. on both sides of the benches, playing and coaching. So more so on the other side for coaching, obviously, but that is a hostile atmosphere. It gets loud. The players ride off that momentum, and it's one of the best rinks, if not the best rinks, to play around in this area in the league. And the Eagles are familiar with that rink, and they're going to use their advantage and feed off that momentum. So David Wollan, if he wants to continue that success against the Eagles, he's going to have to keep calm and collected because he's going to get harassed at the Polar Stadium. They do that. They do that at the NOJHL there for the Polar Stadium, and I love it. Keep that up, Eagle fans. Not just to David Wollan, but to all the goalies. That's a great, great feeling to see fans get into it. And the Eagles, they can feed off the momentum. Where Rayside is up 2-0. Sorry, they can't take the Eagles lightly because anything can happen in a playoff series. You can be in a down 3-0, and that one win gives them an extra bit of life. And even they feel that life, sometimes they don't turn back. So I really think that the series is not done. The Eagles should continue to grind hard. They have a chance to win both at home, and they got to do it by keeping it simple. Like I said with the Hounds, keeping it simple, getting the puck to the net, crashing the net. Big time playoff hockey is where you're crashing the net, getting into those dirty areas. Those third, fourth lines, and your third pairing defense and your goalie is what wins you the championships. Not just those top two lines. So the Eagles want that success. I trust in Doug LaPrade to get the right guys in the right situation and the right guys to step up. And if Rayside wants to continue this, David Wollan will be a big part of that, but also is to keep contained at the Polar Stadium and hold the beginning rush. And what I mean of that is the first 10 minutes in a hockey game, when you play at that Polar Stadium, the Eagles, are going to come out flying.
Oh, yeah.
So it's containing that first 10 minutes. If Rayside can control the first period and the second period, there'll be a good way to continue and conclude the game, if not the series. But if the Eagles can take over the game early, they might have a chance to battle back in the series.
Big games. Game 3 Thursday, Game 4 Friday at Polar Stadium. You can hear the podcast on this podcast page of the Hockey TV broadcast. Yours truly doing it solo. Dave, if you're not doing anything, feel free to come down to the Puller. You can find it at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Finally, Dave, Sioux Thunderbirds hasn't been easy, but they're up 2-0 against Blind River as they won Game 1 by the score of 4-2. 6-3 last night at the Rose as Matthew Bazarin scored twice, and Stephen Bellini dished out 3 assists. Thunderbirds up 2-0, Game 3 in Blind River on Tuesday. The Beavers have been game, but this Thunderbirds team, we've talked about them all season long. They're solid. They're built for the playoffs, and they're going to be tough to beat.
They're deep. That team, we've been covering them all year, especially the Icebreakers edition, have John up a lot. And he's talking about the preparations that he's done, and he talks about it on air, but he tells me some things off air that he doesn't say on air to keep his secrets internal with the team. And that team is well proportioned from the coaching staff right up to the management and right down to the team. And goaltending solid, defensive is solid. The forwards are even more solid in terms of Lucas Terrio and McDonald and Smith, and the list goes on. And the Thunderbirds have been a team that have had an ending last year where they didn't want to have, and they had a lot of returning guys this year. And Bazarin is a guy that I love to watch. The guy's a force.
Yep.
He's big. He's built for playoff hockey is what that guy's built for. And the Thunderbirds right now aren't really, not saying that they're overpowering the Beavers, but they are, I feel, the better team. And I'm not giving any thumbs down or any kind of knocks to Blind River because they are playing a team that is really hard, if not is the team to beat. If the Beavers defeated the Thunderbirds, they would be favorites to win the NOJHL championship. That's how good the Thunderbirds are. And Breck and the staff in Blind River should be very happy with what they've done with that program in a matter of a couple of years. And they can still come back in the series. They got to capitalize back in Blind River, which is another hostile playoff atmosphere, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a chance to battle back, but the Thunderbirds are looking very tough to contain right now.
In the East, Powassan, a surprise 2-0 lead over Kirkland Lake as they rolled over the Gold Miners by the score of 8-3. Powassan knocked out Cochrane, who is the Dudley Hewitt host, so they're not going to be playing for about 6 weeks. And Timmins even up their series against Hearst last night with a 6-2 win. Game 3 will be later on this week, Wednesday, in Timmins. We're going to take a break here on the game. Dave's going to enjoy some fabulous cuisine. We'll have him come back for hour 2 on the round table. So, Dave, enjoy your, what is that?
That is a pulled pork burger sandwich with there's pineapples in there, barbecue sauce, a bunch of goodies on the inside of the pulled pork sandwich, and then tater tots.
I like tater
tots.
You do.
I love those tater tots.
Dave, we'll talk to you in hour 2. Thanks for joining us in hour 1.
Sounds good.
And we'll be joined by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports coming up next on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
Let's get back to the local sports talk on The Game, live from the Wicked Sister on Eagle 95.1.
Scott Nason back at the Wicked Sister on this Monday night. Our broadcast engineer, Katie Wollan. Want to thank Dave McCaig for joining us in Hour 1. He'll rejoin us for the roundtable in Hour 2, including myself, Katie, who's going to make her way from the studios down here. We're hoping to hear from E.J. Russell along with our next guest and regular contributor, Butch Davis, who you can hear on our website, thegamesportshow.com or thegamesportshow.podbean.com, as he has a show called Butch On Sports, which I highly recommend, where you can get up to date on the Metro Detroit sports scene. Butch joins us each and every week to give us a firsthand account here in Northern Michigan on what's going on in the D. Butch, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm feeling a little bit better than weeks before, buddy. I tell you what, you
can tell by hearing your show, Butch on Sports. I always know how you're doing when I listen to that show, Butch, and we're happy to have you on board. We got a lot to cover here in our segment. And Butch, Dave and I talked a little bit about the Michigan High School Athletic Association boys basketball finals. You covered them on your show from Sunday, but I really wanted to get into what happened to Iron Mountain. They are feeling a little bit slighted by a couple of the calls at the end of that game that many people said cost them the state title. There was a travel that was called late that normally doesn't get called, and then there was an intentional foul at midcourt with a lot of controversy as Palma Westphalia, not to take anything away from them, but folks in the UP, Butch, are feeling pretty slighted by some calls that many people thought cost Iron Mountain the championship. Your thoughts on what transpired at the Breslin Center in that game?
Well, you should be feeling a little slighted, and this is what mustard in the powder cake here. When we saw the River Rouge game, which was the last game of the night, if you can remember, or if you did see that, from one of the final plays of the game was supposedly a travel call where River Rouge got the ball back. However, it didn't read into a catastrophe for Unity Christian. They end up winning the game. But a lot of calls, especially, and I saw the one that we're speaking of right now there in that particular game. The state of Michigan, and you're an official yourself, Scott, and from you and I have had conversations. One of the things that the state really needs to upgrade their motions on, they do a lot of advertising on it, but again, I think they need to just get off their rear end and start making a travel around the state and trying to recruit brand new officials there to get trained, to be modeled for doing the officiating, to kind of rose themselves up and basically doing officiating calls. You get the same officials, and sometimes all the time, who maybe someone who did for instance, the 10:30 game or whatever it may be, end up doing maybe the 4:30 game there, and it's not really all that good and whatnot. You should have at least 3 officials or around maybe 15 officials that you can use during that whole doggone day. And, you have some upswings or some officials in the background to look at particular plays or watch particular plays so they can consult and do what they need to do. They have to do a better job in recruiting and officiating now. They have to do something in order to kind of take that around. Bad calls in every game per se, but that one particular call there I saw normally is ignored, okay, especially in a big game per se there. And it was not, okay. That was just, it was totally unexcused. But again, a call is a call. They're not going to go to instant replay and say, hey, look, this and that and the other. Television has a lot to do with it because of the timing mechanism that Fox is using in order to get reset to get the next game on or whatever have be. But again, there's no excuse for where the kids have to suffer for that there. They go all year long to bust their rear end to do what they have to do. And for a call like that to be to reconcile or just mess up the whole game altogether was just totally ridiculous there. Again, the state has to do a better job of getting off their rear end and do some recruiting in order to get some officials out there so you can get some new blood in there some brighter eyes, and some awareness that the game means more than just going through the motions there.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch, let's move on to college basketball. You're going to have a special edition of your show tomorrow afternoon going through some of the brackets. We're going to talk more about the brackets themselves, I'm sure, an hour or two for the roundtable. But for the two teams in the state that we cover, and I know a team that you are fond of out west, Oregon, they're the 12th seed. They'll take on a very banged-up Wisconsin team in a 5. I like that 12-5 matchup right there for Oregon. Michigan State, who won the Big Ten regular season and playoff championship. A lot of people not happy with where they're going. They're in the same bracket as Duke. Duke the 1 seed, Michigan State the 2 seed. Duke the top team in the tournament, and the powers that be in the NCAA said it was a geography thing why Michigan State was there. They'll take on Bradley Thursday afternoon in Des Moines. Michigan, the 2 seed in the West, many say a more favorable bracket as they could meet Gonzaga in the Elite 8. They're going to start against Montana Thursday night, also in Des Moines. So, Butch, I know we're going to get more about this in hour 2 and on your show tomorrow. What's your thoughts on bracketology?
Michigan State got jobbed.
Sure did. Wow.
They got jobbed real bad here. And you would figure that Michigan State would be, being that they won the Big Ten title, will be put out in the West rather than the University of Michigan going out there and getting the consolation prize and they getting thrown out in the West there. In most occasions, that would have happened where Michigan State would have been thrown out there, but they were not. They were put in the same division where Duke was now, and that is a very kind of helter-skelter type of thing, the East there. And, you know, you got to win to get in, but Michigan State, again, they got jobbed very bad.
And we're going to talk more about that in hour 2 for sure, Butch. Let's move on to the Pistons. Hey, the Pistons might want to be the 7th seed in the Eastern playoffs and take on the Toronto Raptors because they swept the regular season series against the Raptors with Kawhi Leonard, I might add, yesterday, as Blake Griffin, 25 points, calling out some of his teammates, Butch, after the lackluster win against the Lakers. Andre Drummond, 15 points, 17 rebounds. Pistons win 110-107 over Toronto. Right now, the Pistons 36-33, 6th in the East. And they're at Cleveland tonight. Butch, Pistons, Raptors. Pistons like playing the Raptors this year.
Well, they, the coach, and I'm quite sure it ain't no lie. He had something to prove, being your coach of the year, and you get fired and whatnot and thrown out in the street, per se there. But again, things happen in our wacky world of sports there. I've seen worse, but, he didn't get, he got the bottom of the barrel on that one there. The Pistons got to really do a better job of playing defense now here. It's getting closer to the end. The better teams are playing more succulent defense. The Pistons, sometimes I feel like a nut, sometimes I don't, kind of attitude there. With the depletion of the Friday game, we're speaking of with the Lakers, where LeBron James didn't even play or even show up on the bench, okay? That team should have been ran out of town by sundown there. They should have been putting kids from the studio audience in the game there to play the fourth quarter. And the Pistons, seemed like they dragged the game out. It was a sufficient type of finish for the Pistons in that particular game. But you figured with the participants not playing and LA not really competing the way it is, and we'll talk about that during the second hour there. The Pistons have to do better in capturing themselves and say, hey, look, where do we want to be? They're not only not going to get no more than maybe a 6th seed there at the most, but again, they got to play better defense in order to kind of capture the imagination of the fans. So they're going to have a lot of empty seats in their arena when they come time to play during the playoffs there. You want the place to be full. They got to play a better brand of basketball when it comes down to defense there, and they're not doing it right now. And I'm not talking about Andre Drummond, and I'm not talking about Griffin there, but the cast around them sometimes just don't come out and play good, solid defense. We're talking about the guards. We're talking about the bench. We're talking about some of the other starters that are surrounding those particular two individuals, and not doing the job that they should be doing. Which again, they're playing lesser of players there and not getting it done.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch, we've got about 4 minutes before we end hour one. The Detroit Red Wings playing out the string, if you will, winning on Saturday over the Islanders by the score of 2-1. They'll be at the New York Rangers tomorrow night. Right now, the Wings' third worst record in the NHL. Many people saying lose for Hughes. Is it a good thing that the Wings are winning these games, Butch, or should they just tank and try to get Mr. Hughes as the first overall pick?
Who knows if Mr. Hughes is going to be playing with the major league club, or the Red Wings do what they normally do, is set them down the pipe to get seasoned and whatnot there.
Yep.
That is the problem there. Then again, we all know, and the closer people surrounding know, will our general manager be back, where maybe someone like the Mr. Steve Yzerman come into play and kind of shake the doggone lineups and shake the whole place on up. Make some trades to get some better quality of players in there, because right now the Red Wings need that. They're another team that can play some good skating teams and whatnot. They have the young, faster skaters and whatnot, but again, they're lacking defense. Cromwell is not getting younger. We don't know if he's going to be back next year, or he's going to be used as a guinea pig to kind of help those young kids get better. But I don't see that right now. I see Cromwell maybe taking a role in somewhere else, or maybe getting traded, or something of the sort that allows a younger player or a bigger player to come on in there and do some bidding. I don't see Jimmy Howard will be maybe on the catching block or maybe getting traded, okay? Because goaltending is an issue with the Detroit Red Wings, and it's not bad, okay. But again, when you don't have people help defending you, clearing the puck away from the goal, or clearing players, and that's the problem I have. They don't clear players away. Majority of the goals of Red Wing games are initial saves that are done, but again, they get the rebounds and whatnot. Here's a player just walking on in there and making a phone call, ordering the pizza, and still make a goal. And it's just bad, okay? It just looks very bad. Let's give the Red Wings some credit where credit due. Majority of these games, they're close, or they're in the lead, or had to lead for a great period of time until it gets to the third period, and then everything just breaks away here, and there's nothing left. So we got to see what goes on with that particular club. How they're going to manufacture it? Are they going to, are Kenny Holland going to be back, or are they going to put him in a position where he might be president or something, and bring in a Steve Yzerman or someone there, and some defensive specialist coach to get the defense in a better way for the Red Wings to be more competitive next year.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Again, you can find his show, Butch On Sports, on the podcast page of this show, thegamesportshow.podbean.com or thegamesportshow.com, or go directly to his podcast page. That's simply Butch2, that's TOO.podomatic.com. And you can also find Butch On Sports on Facebook. Give him a like. Butch, we got a lot more to cover in hour two, so stand by as we'll have our roundtable start up in a few minutes. Thanks for joining us on the radio, and we'll talk to you in a few.
All righty.
All right, that's going to do it for our number one here on Eagle 95.1 and online at RadioEagle951.com. We will be back here next Monday night at the Wicked Sister for another edition of the game on the radio from 6 to 7 o'clock. And the full 2-hour show, which includes the roundtable, which is coming up next with myself, Butch, Dave McCaig, Katie Wollan, and EJ Russell, can be found at thegamesportshow.com or thegamesportshow.podbean.com. That's going to do it here on the radio. For those on Eagle 95.1, we'll get you back to classic hits at random. For those online, stay tuned for hour two of the game coming up next.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show wants to thank its original home, partner, and sponsor since 2015, Sports Center Bar and Grill, named the Sioux's best sports bar for 3 years in a row. Sports Center Bar and Grill is located on 624 Wellington Street West in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Make sure to come on down to Sports Center to enjoy the great atmosphere with great cold beverages available, including those delicious Molson products. Don't forget about their famous 75-cent wing nights on Wednesdays. They're truly the best wings in town. Like and follow Sports Center on Facebook at Sports Center SSM. We look forward to seeing you today. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company, it's a northern thing.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsioux.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason and Dave McCaig broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street. Hour 2 of our 2-hour show. We'll be joined by Katie Wollan, who's coming back from the studios after board opping hour 1. Board opping, easy for me to say. We're continuing to be joined by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports in the Metro Detroit area, and our newest contributor and good friend E.J. Russell joining us from the Banana Belt of the Upper Peninsula known as Escanaba, Michigan. EJ, we're only a couple days away from spring. How you doing, my friend?
Well, the snow's thawing, and I can finally see the gravel in my driveway, but I'm ready to go. We got lots to talk about today, lots of big sports news this week, so can't wait to get right into it.
Yeah, we really do, EJ. And let's start with you and your topic. Dave will give you first crack, and then Butch, and then myself. EJ, I know there's a lot going on right now. Where do you want to start the roundtable tonight?
So I kind of want to get into a local sports piece, and you guys may have touched on this in the first hour, but I want to talk about the NCAA and they're intervening in Coach Izzo wanting to buy the Iron Mountain team dinner and pick up their tab. And I think that there need to be some things that are okay. You know, Izzo is most likely not recruiting guys from Iron Mountain. And I just think that, you know, that being his alma mater, that there need to be some rules in place that allow for him to be able to pick up the tab for his alma mater for having a successful season. And I just wanted to kind of touch on what you guys think about the NCAA's intervening in things like that. Now, I know the NCAA did not get involved because Coach Izzo's staff told him he couldn't do that. But just kind of what do you guys think about him not being allowed to buy his team dinner? And is that something that should change going forward?
Dave, what ended up happening, if you didn't know, is, of course, we talked about the Iron Mountain situation on the court, but off the court, of course, Tom Izzo from Iron Mountain, always a big tie to Iron Mountain, and he wanted to buy the team dinner, but, of course, with the NCAA and rules and coaching, that obviously did not happen. I can't believe if Mark D'Antonio or Steve Mariucci or somebody else picked up the tab, but to EJ's topic before we go to Butch, you know, sometimes there's rules and they have good meaning and intentions, but, you know, sometimes can't you just let it slide if the coach wants to give his alma mater a free dinner? I mean, come on.
See, when it comes to that, it already shows right there, first off, that the refs made a mistake in that basketball game.
We talked about the refs.
Yeah, we did, and, you know, that shows right there that how the coaches want to get involved in teams, how they feel bad for Iron Mountain. So I really think, though, to answer EJ's question, that the rules sometimes are a little bit too much. Listen, I work in human resources, and I know my bosses tune in on the show once in a while, and I like to say all the time, but I know it depends on, because we do a lot of segments per week,
sure.
So and they work. So, you know, I know they tune in, so I'm not going to go out here and chirp being in human resources by any means, but we follow certain policies in that position even, and you got to do things or say things or do any kind of thing that you may not think is right for an individual or for the organization, but you do it to follow your policies. Now, NCAA has stuff in policy, right? They have procedures, they have regulations, they have rules, they have everything that has to be followed. And for that to be, it has to be consistent. You know, this hasn't really been done before, and I really feel, Scotty, 100%. If you want to buy someone a meal, they should. If it's against the rules, though, if there's any kind of bit of speculation or any kind of thing, you got to watch your rear end, as I'd like to say, if you're one of those individuals who are in power in the NCAA, or if you're a coach in NCAA, you have to follow the regulations and policies that the league has set forth for you, because that's what's paying you. That's your contract. You sign that to be a part of that organization, so you have to follow what they say. And sadly, I don't agree with it. I'm not saying I don't agree with my HR rules, so don't take it that way. I'm just saying that there's certain things in place that you may not feel is right, some things that are in place that you do feel is right. And in this situation, I don't feel NCAA has it right. I don't think there is an issue for the coach buying a team dinner because he feels bad or whatever the situation may be. But again, since they are in place, you do have to follow them.
I will say this. I know when Butch Davis and E.J. Russell come back or to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan at the Wicked Sister, we're buying them dinner here, Dave. Yes, and I don't care what the NCAA or MHSA or anybody else says. They're getting a free dinner and some drinks here. Butch Davis, your thoughts on EJ's topic, sir?
Oh, boy. It's a hell of a topic, too, man. You know, if I was Tom Izzo, I would ask his wife to send a check in her name. Okay, and let her buy the meal, and would not really went public with that particular state. As far as going public with they got job, yes, they got screwed. Okay, we're talking about Iron Mountain in that particular game. And again, I'm not saying that was the good or bad or the ugly of the official who right now he's already packed his bags and he's in Hawaii or something, somewhere far away where no one can find the guy here for maybe 2 or 3 months. Okay. However, as far as buying them dinner or showing that yes, we did notice the game per se, and we saw the impropriety that those kids had to go through. And again, that wasn't the only game that had some improprieties game. I watched the River Rouge game very closely as well. And that same call went reversal for River Rouge where they got the ball back. Again, they didn't win the game per se or was able to tie the game or go take it in overtime. But the same thing happened and they let it be a no call or some type of 5-second relationship or some other lie that they can make up or whatever it may be. But as far as the dinner is concerned there, come on, NCAA. The rule is there. You can't argue with the rule. However,
and I agree with you, Butch. I think, and your point is very well taken. Have Lupe Izzo write the check or something. I mean, it's a nice gesture. Tom Izzo. We don't have a lot of famous people from the Upper Peninsula. We just don't. And Tom Izzo, Steve Mariucci, probably two of the best. Both went to Iron Mountain. Both went to Northern Michigan. Both coach in NCAA basketball, and of course Mariucci professionally in football. We just don't have a lot of those famous people, and so we have a lot of small towns here in the Upper Peninsula, and it's one of those things where a team that advances in any sport, because in the only sports that we get to participate in the total state championships, we being the Upper Peninsula, is basketball, is volleyball, is hockey, is football, like the cross countries, the swimmings, the track and fields. Those are just UP wide. So anytime an Upper Peninsula school gets down to the Breslin Center, or for the girls Calvin College, which is a joke, they shouldn't be playing in a Division III school. They should be playing in a much better venue, as I mentioned earlier. But we bond. We want them. It doesn't matter if it's Iron Mountain or if it's Ironwood or Iron River or any other Iron team in the Upper Peninsula. It's one of those things where we pull for the underdog. UP Power. You'll hear that chant probably this weekend with St. Ignace coming up, and you heard it with Iron Mountain. And to get to your topic, EJ, I mean, yes, the rule is there, but there's common sense. If Tom Izzo wants to buy his alma mater a meal on a Thursday night in East Lansing, then, I mean, come on. I mean, are there worse transgressions that are out there? Yes, and so it's a little bit ridiculous, but the rule is the rule, and the NCAA will be as the NCAA will be. EJ Russell, your thoughts on your own topic? Kind of threw a curveball on that one, but I like it.
Yeah, you guys were probably expecting me to go NFL, but I felt like this is something that as sports commentators that we need to address it. And I understand that the rules are in place, and I'm not attempting to argue the fact that that's what the rule is and Izzo was not able to. What I'm saying is that I believe some amendments need to be made to the rule. Okay, the concept of that rule and the purpose of its existence is to prevent coaches from buying specific players meals in an attempt to sway them to come to their university. You just can't, and I get that maybe there is no good way to rewrite this rule, but I think that something should be in place for head coaches of the NCAA in any facet to be able to support teams from their community. If Urban Meyer, when coaching at Ohio State, wanted to support his Ohio high school for success in football, I think that that's something that they should be allowed to do, but only in a team format. You can't specifically go and exclude players. It has to be all or none. And I think if that's the way that it happens, I have no issue with it. And I couldn't agree with you more, Scott. And being a resident of the UP as of the last few years of my life, there is a certain pride to the Upper Peninsula. I take pride in being a transplant and saying that I live here. This is a place, without being overly corny, but it's a magical place, right? This is a fun spot for anybody who loves the outdoors. You'll see some of the most beautiful things in the world. But there are many small communities, and they are a very proud people. I mean, Dave can name right off the top of his head right now, I guarantee you, who Sault, Ontario's famous alumni are. And that's something that every community takes pride in, who they have as famous alumni. And I think that there shouldn't be an issue if you're buying for an entire team only from your alma mater. You had to have attended or graduated from that school in order for that to be a benefit. That's something I think that maybe the NCAA needs to look at, because that's just hurting. It has the ability to hurt a community, right? What if Iron Mountain's like, man, we were in East Lansing and Coach Izzo didn't reach out for anything? That's something that you might feel like you got, a slap in the face from. I mean, people around here do show that kind of support, and people have a bond when you say where you're from and when you say you're from the Upper Peninsula. And I'm not just specifically picking the UP here. I mean, I can tell you the famous alumni from Cleveland. We're proud people too. LeBron James is one big example. Comes out and funds an entire public school. Now, if he did that in college, would he be allowed to fund a school? Because now all those kids are likely to go to where he's from. It's just, there's certain things that I think need to be discussed as far as famous alumni and supporting their communities and what kind of charitable donations that they can make. If Izzo writes that check to the Booster Club, is it different than if he just picks up the bill? I mean, I don't know how to change that rule or the proper wording for it, but I think something needs to be addressed, and coaches and players need to be able to support, and get the college athletes probably can't, but coaches need to be able to support their communities. And I think that that's something that the NCAA needs to address in the years to come.
Great topic, EJ. Let's continue the roundtable here at the Wicked Sister with Dave McCaig. We'll go to Butch first, then myself, and then EJ. So, Dave McCaig, what's on your mind in the world of sports? What do you want to bring up to tonight's roundtable?
Oh, it's been a couple months since I've been down here to bring up a topic here at the Wicked Sister. The last time I was here was through online on Skype in the second hour. I missed the first hour live. So it's good to be back at the roundtable with all the fellas here. Very excited to. And I want to bring my usual topic to the table. Let's bring the National Hockey League to the table. Not a specific topic. Playoffs are coming around the corner. Everyone's got about 15-ish kind of games left. Tampa Bay is an absolute force. Absolute force is I can't even put another name to it right now. You have teams in the Western Conference. It's just a logjam in the wild card position. You have in the Eastern side, you have Columbus, who's fighting for playoff live after getting rid of their first, second, fourth, fifth, and sixth round pick for Duchesne, Dzingel, McQuaid, and Monk's company. So they're trying to do anything they can in their power. You have the Carolina Hurricanes, who are debating to put their celebration on road ice now, opposed to home ice, and they're called the bunch of jerks, and they're living by that name now. The hashtag
again.
The National Hockey League, just a wide open topic. It's getting around the playoff time. Boston, Toronto is going to be a first round matchup. It seems like Toronto's looked horrible the last 3 games. I was there live at the Canadian Tire Center this past Saturday to watch my NHL Leafs against an AHL Senators team. No offense, Senator fans.
Lose for Hughes.
And, unfortunately for the Sens, though, they don't have their first round pick.
That's right.
That's
Good
Colorado
point.
has
Good point.
that.
Good point.
There's a lot of Hughes around the corner if teams are going to go that route. Or is Capo Caco going to go ahead of Jack Hughes? I know a lot of people are even thinking
you
of
like
that.
Him, don't you?
I do like
Capo
Caco. I like saying the name actually more probably than the player, but there's a lot of exciting things in the National Hockey League. So I just want to bring anything up that anybody wants to bring up for the National Hockey League.
Butch, we'll go to you first. We talked about the Wings playoffs just around the corner. What are your thoughts on Dave's topic?
Oh boy, that's not a dead issue here. It's right around the corner here. And we talked about Jack Hughes, too, during my segment there, in the latter part of the live show on radio there. And that seemed to be a huge topic there. If it comes to fruition, maybe the Red Wings get an opportunity to get that guy, which I don't think he will. That will be very much so something. I think the biggest thing is, will you let Mr. Hughes come on in as a rookie and play with the veterans on the parent club during his first year, or do you send him down for season and whatnot, which the Red Wings have a bad habit of doing there? Matter of fact, overseasoning some of the players there and don't get those particulars down here that need to be down here in order to get that veteran skill and that quality of the NHL type of way of playing some hockey there. That's kind of tough. But the playoffs and looking at that, I got a feel of it last night there watching the doubleheader on NBC, the sports network there, and saw some of the games. And I'm ready for playoffs there right now. I'm kind of right now. I'm bent out of shape, from just hockey every other doggone day, and the playoffs haven't started. I'm looking at teams right now that are basically are ready and fit to be tied versus Don Cherry continuously making comments on a team that basically right now it's not as good as many of the other teams per se there, but they're just having some fun, and I just think it's out of Don Cherry's comments to sit up there and pick on somebody every single doggone week because they're trying to make something out of a season that basically right now may not be as gratifying as other teams per se there. And I don't see nothing wrong with that. I don't see nothing wrong with it. I think Don is getting old right now here, or we need to, instead of you buying Don Cherry suits, we need to get him a fifth of liquor and, and just let him drag it on out of there until he fall out on the floor or something and just drag the guy on out of there. Take the suit and put it on option or something, go on eBay or something, but just let him go on out here. But I don't know. I'm just ready for playoffs right now here. Whoever comes in the way and kind of takes ourselves away from some of the comments or the speculation of things that really and truly we have no control of until it happens. Let's get it together. Let's let it fall the way it may. I think the Maple Leafs are putting up a front, and one of the best fronts I've seen in a long time for hockey being played there. I think they're going to be better than a lot of people expect there right now. I just don't think they're letting their hand just fall loose. I think they're just getting things set up so when the playoffs start, they will do some things that is a huge element of surprise to other teams right now there, because I think a lot of people think they got them all scouted on out, and I don't think they do. I think the Maple Leafs got a lot more talent than people give credit for, but yet and still they're always being bobbled with because of maybe a loss or something's just not right, or this particular player is not showing the way that they should be playing, and a devastating type of way that they just can't believe and whatnot. We haven't heard them talk about the coach as of yet. There, at least I haven't. There, I know Dave is a lot closer to that particular than I am. I haven't heard it, but again, I'm just ready for playoffs. Let it roll here. Come on, let's see some real good fights and whatnot there. Let's see some talent that we haven't seen during the regular season. Let's see some players give their all and whatnot there, and just let it hang on out there the way it is.
I agree with you, Butch. And I always say the one sport of the 4 professional sports in North America that changes so much from regular season to playoffs is hockey. I mean, you look at the first round of the NHL playoffs. To me, it's my favorite round. Now, I had 2 topics tonight, and I kind of want to kind of make an amendment, or not an amendment, but just an addition to Dave's topic is I have a problem with the playoff system, how it is right now.
Oh, there you go.
I really do.
Hey, it's a round table topic, man.
It is, and so I'm going to focus on that part. Dave, you mentioned Tampa Bay, and right now it's Tampa Bay and everybody else. But when they made the switch a few years ago, the reasoning, I'm not sure what the reasoning was. I know somehow it had to do with sometimes travel and teams, with the 1 through 8 seeds, it came down to the last day and you couldn't make travel plans. But I don't like how so many of these matchups and the best 2 teams in the conference can play in the second round. We saw that last year with Nashville and Winnipeg. I mean, you look at how things are set up right now. I mean, you could have in the West the 2 best teams, Calgary and San Jose, play in the second round. I think that's wrong. I think you go back to the 1 through 8. It's the only thing that makes sense right now. You have 1 through 8. Now, of course, a lot of the playoffs matchups wouldn't change in the first round. I mean, you would still have Tampa Bay taking on Columbus. You'd still have the New York Islanders taking on Carolina, Boston and Toronto, Washington and Pittsburgh. But, how many, Pittsburgh and Washington, have they met in the playoffs now for 50 straight years, it seems like? It's ridiculous. I think you should go back to the 1 versus 8. It's fair. You had the best two teams playing at the end. Right now, you have the best two teams many times playing in the second round. I don't like how the setup is, but it's exciting to see some of these teams. Out west, the team I really thought is kind of disappointed me was Colorado. They've put themselves out of the playoffs. How about Arizona? Mm-hmm. Arizona in the playoffs. There's nobody, even in Arizona, that thought that was even going to be possible. Vegas, many people thought they were going to maybe have a letdown season after, what happened. No. And Calgary. I mean, Calgary quietly has the best record in the West. I don't think many people thought that. But going back to the playoff format, change the playoff format. I don't like the wild card. Let's go 1 through 8. I wish we could go back to the old days, which I know you love these days, where you had the Patrick, the Adams, the Smythe, and the Norris division, and you had 16 of the 21 teams make the playoffs. All you had to do was not finish last place. Obviously, you can't do that now. Go back to 1 versus 8. None of this wild card nonsense where you have all the best teams playing in the second round, which shouldn't happen. EJ Russell, your thoughts on Dave's topic before we go to Dave?
Well, just to address your Arizona comment, no one in Arizona guessed because no one in Arizona actually watches that team, and it's a shame because I've been to that stadium, that arena, and have been to games, and they do a really good job there. So hopefully they get some more fans with the playoff push. I know when I was there, they were a good team, and they made the playoffs when I was living out there, and the fans did show up. Visiting team traveled well. I watched them play the Red Wings. And that was good, but they do a nice job there, and hopefully Arizona continues to give them more respect. As far as NHL conversations go, Scott, I agree with you as far as the playoff thing goes. It should be 1-8, 2-7, and so on and so on. I remember when I heard that the NHL made the change as a young fan, I couldn't even fathom how it made sense. As a fan, it's like, that's not how playoffs work. Like, why are you doing that? It made no sense to me, so I couldn't agree with you more. Go back to the old format. But I think that one team that I get for fans of the NHL, you have been doing them, is I want to talk about Tampa Bay real quick. I don't think that people are paying attention to them in the national spotlight as much as they should. And here's why I say that. There's 10 games left in the season. Okay, they got 72 games played, and I'm reading the stat line right now. There's an 82-game schedule. If they win all 10 games, which is highly unlikely, if they do, they will hold the all-time record for most points in a season. Now, right now, at the top of that list stand the 1976 to 1977 Montreal Canadiens with 132 points in an 80-game season. So I think that, and this is a huge record for hockey. This is something that a team doesn't challenge for every year. I mean, we're talking about the 76, 77 Canadiens are one of the best all-time put-together teams. That's when the Canadiens were great. Tampa Bay needs to be given more attention for what they potentially could accomplish this year. Now, if they're smart, they'll sit their players and not risk injury. But they can lose one of these games in overtime and still get the record. So, I mean, all you have to do that is win 4 games, lose 1 in overtime, and win the last 5. That's not unheard of. And this is a team that, like you guys have said earlier, is leaps and bounds above everybody else in the league right now. I mean, they're almost 20 points above the team in front of them, which is the Boston Bruins at 95 points. That's insane. They're 19 points in front with a chance at this record. And I think that this is something that deserves more attention. I think that the organization in Tampa Bay, with what Yzerman put together before he stepped aside, and what Steven Stamkos and that whole organization is doing there is just fantastic. And it's great to see a non-hockey city doing this well. This is good for the game. This is good for the game's reach. But I think Tampa Bay deserves more attention for what they have the potential to accomplish this year.
Dave McCaig, let's go to you to round out this topic, and then we have Katie Wollan here. We'll go to her topic and give Butch first crack. So, Dave, I know you like the NHL. You got lots of thoughts. Go.
Scott, I will say everyone had great answers there, absolutely. And I got to say the big thing that stuck out for me was the playoff format. That is something that actually came to mind for me to bring up, as that is an issue. And I'm not saying that because I cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs and that they play Boston each year. Listen, if you're going to make it somewhere, you got to beat the good teams to get there. And Boston's one of them, Tampa's one of them, etc. So it doesn't bother me that Toronto's playing Boston again. It would either happen that round or the second round. And as Scott said, if the playoffs lined up the way they would, I think they would probably play Boston anyways, the way the points are lined up. So, I love the 1 through 8 seed. You can keep the same format, top 3 teams plus 2 wild cards, but then seed them. You can keep it the same, so you can do your regular season schedule the same and reduce travel costs. You can still do things there to keep that the same. But I really think that the NHL has to address that playoff format and bring in more, let's say, an older style with yet a newer style combined so everyone can relate. And I want to see a kind of format that is the 1 through 8, but same kind of format to get there, then seed them. And also, I would like to see the overtime potentially even go down to the 4-on-4, 3-on-3. I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but why not bring that out? We got Philly and Pittsburgh who had that 5-game or 5-period overtimes. Yeah. Maybe after 3 OTs, it goes down to 3-on-3 hockey. You make up some rules, spice it up a little bit because we probably wouldn't see it get that far anyway.
Keep the shootout.
But when it comes to the East and the West, I think the East is so much stronger than the West. And I apologize to the Western Conference. I apologize to Paul Maurice and the Winnipeg Jets who deserve a bit more credit. I will say right now, big part of that is Tampa Bay and Nikita Kucherov. Why don't we talk about Nikita Kucherov for a second? The guy's been an absolute stud. I haven't seen a player put up this kind of points or put up this kind of competitiveness, anything since, I want to go even, this is beyond when Crosby played in his first beginning years.
Yeah.
And he has the opportunity to do something that a lot of NHL players haven't either. Okay, and when I see Nikita Kucherov play, here's a guy that people passed in the first round. I remember top of my head right now, I think it was late second round that Nikita Kucherov went to Tampa Bay Lightning. He got a chance to play with Tampa, and that team is all around just good. Okay, and I thought when Toronto played them last week, when they went in and they lost 6-2 or 6-1 was the score, Toronto outplayed them the first 2 games, and watching that game didn't show for it. And right now, the NHL has a good problem right now with a lot of the parity in the National Hockey League. A lot of teams have a chance to make it. Arizona's in a friggin' playoff spot, as you said, Scotty. And, I will say right now that the NHL's playoff format has to change, but seeing Toronto, Boston, and Washington, Pittsburgh against each other potentially again, sure, it is what it is, but you have to beat good teams to get there. And all in all, in the National Hockey League, the playoff format's still not, or the playoff situation picture is not settled yet. The Western Conference can change in a matter of 2 days, let alone tonight. So you have the Eastern Conference where Toronto, for a fact, right now, has been playing like absolute SHIT right now. Scott, I'm going to say it. I'm going to spell it. Spell it out. Did. I spelled it out for you there. And I watched them play at the Canadian Tire Center last Saturday, and I watched the most embarrassing Leaf game that I've seen in a long time. Okay, and they lost some doozy games this past week. And and all in all, in the National Hockey League, it's just that overall parity in the playoffs is so much of a different picture than the regular season that anything can happen. Toronto, Boston loves playing Toronto.
They do.
Toronto loves playing Tampa, but except the last game. But there's teams. Toronto went into Calgary and beat them 6-2. It's amazing how each game is different. And Gary Batman should be excited to see how the league is it could change in any given night. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to look at Tampa right now and be like, this is the team to beat. Sure they are. God, that team is special. But I want to see what they do in the playoffs, because what I can remember is the San Jose Sharks and Washington Capitals having 50-plus win seasons, and they didn't make it past the first round. Okay, playoffs are different. Boston is a team built for playoff hockey. Jets, the Predators, built for playoff hockey. Really, I don't think Toronto really is built for playoff hockey. They're going to be so heavily relying on their goaltending and their offense to get goals. It's just going to be exciting to see what the coming last few weeks come in the National Hockey League and what is going to happen, because anything can happen.
Absolutely. Let's continue the roundtable. We have time for a couple more topics as Katie Wollan has joined us here at the Wicked Sister. Katie, thanks for making the trek down from the studios at Eagle 95.1.
Yes, I was a little late, but I'm excited to share my question.
Well, let's throw it out there. Butch will give you first crack, and then myself, and then EJ. So, Katie Wollan, your thoughts on, or your topic, I should say.
I'm excited. So
I can tell.
it's a lot of information. It's statistics wise. I obviously missed your guys' first few questions, so it might. I don't know if it might interfere, but so just listen. Okay.
Wow.
I could be.
You got my attention.
Okay, so the number one. This is for the March Madness, of course, tournament.
We haven't talked it yet, so good topic.
Awesome. Okay, great. So number one seeds, they win 99% of the time in the first round. But where are the upsets? Well, I guess you guys would probably think usually, that's usually in the second or third round. That's most likely going to happen. And but in the last 29 out of the last 34 years, at least one 12 seed has won in the first round. Now 12 seeds playing the 5th seed, just so you know, 6 versus 11 seeds. Now the 11th seed wins 56% of those matchups in the first round. So these kinds of teams are usually those bracket busters because, they're all about that high risk, high reward. They know that they have a lower chance, and they're like, just throw it all out on the floor. They're the ones that crash the boards. They're the ones with the most offensive rebounds, hustle, full court press, generating so many steals. And then, of course, they launch a lot of no, I'm just kidding. They don't launch Steph Curry threes, but they do launch a lot of threes. So I just wanted to share, those few statistics, but also point out the obvious being, you want to choose a team that has both great offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency for your top 4 or your winner for the NCAA tournament. So I'll share my top 4 teams after, but I think both aspects of the game, is very important. And I want you guys to take that into consideration.
Well, we haven't talked brackets yet, Katie. So, Butch, we're going to give you first crack, then myself, then EJ, then Dave, and then Katie. We're talking brackets, Butch. We're going to be having our own game, bracket challenge, if you will.
Yeah, wait.
We're going to have a special edition of your show tomorrow, Butch, on Butch on Sports. Give us a little sneak peek into Butch Davis bracketology.
I got to call Katie. Katie went Jesse Van Tour on everybody here.
Did
shut up, everybody. Just shut up. I don't care if you like it or not here.
Hold on, Butch. Hold on.
Yeah.
Nobody can use each other's comments to assist in their picks. We got to make that rule. We got to get our brackets in still.
All right, sounds good. Okay, let's go to Butch first here. Butch, continue.
I'm going Jesse Van Tour on you. Just shut up while I'm giving my comment here. Hey, oh boy, I lost train of thought now. Really, I have.
Bracketology.
Where's my brackets here? Where's my glasses here? You know what? I didn't think too bad. The picks of the brackets and whatnot. I didn't think too bad at all. I know NC State is not feeling too well in this particular, although they're going to probably a first seed in the NIT, and that's good for them. And so far and so forth. I like the way they went on and teams got in there, and there wasn't too much controversy this year on what teams got the holes there and the teams that did not there. I think the seedings were pretty good, other than Michigan State getting kicked in the rear end there, because I think they should have been out in the West, and Michigan vice versa there, because they did lose, to Michigan State. So
Three times.
Right, okay. And that should be the punishment that the University of Michigan take for losing to Michigan State, who got the triple play slapped on them here. And maybe a fourth time, because again, the way I'm looking at all these seedings and whatnot there, if I put it like this, conceivably, if Michigan beat Duke Michigan beat Gonzaga, and I'm looking at my brackets now because they're all screwed up here, and Duke beat Michigan State, they can meet for a fourth time, in the actual game itself in Minneapolis there. But I'm just dreaming right now here. You can tell that the pills is not wearing out very fine. I'm looking at the brackets there. Oregon, who right now is one of the hottest teams in all of basketball right now, got a number 12 seed there, and which is kind of hospitable because again they're dealing with a broken down a Wisconsin team that could conceivably just get lost out in the first round with Oregon playing them. in San Jose. I'm looking at the bottom tier with the Midwest division there. North Carolina doesn't have it too easy because they got Kentucky, they got Kansas City, or Kansas, I should say, there, and a bunch of other clowns there. Washington is not a bad team at all there, and they conceivably can be playing them because I think they'll beat Utah State. It's not easy there. So I think every game right now is a good game. It's a good pick. Yes, we're going to be disappointed because there may be a couple teams maybe didn't get what they should have gotten there. But again, I think all in all, the picks that got into the 64 and again the end games there were pretty reputable. I kind of was very squeamish there with Hollis St. John's, okay, and the other end game that's going to be played. How did that get to the bottom of the barrel there? I can't believe on that there at all. But again, the NCAA is the NCAA, a bunch of goofballs there. They'd rather spend their time on condemning Tom Izzo and buying somebody a meal than get themselves together and doing a better job of these brackets and using all kind of other wimps per se there to get everybody together. I don't want to say this before we go to the next one. ESPN, if you did not hear, okay, you're hearing on our show there. It's one of the brackets out here at 7 o'clock when they release the brackets. ESPN mistakenly released the brackets at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, so they're going to get. I can see that meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock there with all the executives in there saying who did what, when, why, and how to explain it. I want to see them on SportsCenter kind of explain themselves out of this particular running the area that they did there. I don't have too much respect for ESPN because they're always Southeast ACC, and if you looked at the poll of conferences, it showed that the Big Ten again is the best conference to play your basketball there because they seeded 8 versus everybody else was underneath the doggone total poll for that. But right now, that's all I got to say. I know you guys got more.
Butch, I'll go next. I think the committee did about 90% of their work very well. Watching the brackets unveiled, the first one they showed was the Duke bracket. Of course, Duke was the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, buddy.
And I was watching. Yeah, thanks. I was watching with my girlfriend. I said, "There's no way that Michigan State is going to be seeded in that bracket because Michigan State won their Big Ten tournament, won the conference tournament, only school of the major conferences to do that." They were ranked 5th in the AP rankings, and yet they get in the Duke bracket, which I think is an absolute travesty. They beat Michigan 3 times, and Michigan gets rewarded by being in a much easier bracket in the Gonzaga bracket. But you know what? It is what it is, and you're going to have to play Duke sometime if you're Michigan State. And so I don't like their explanation. The tournament chair said that because of geography and because somehow Washington, D.C. is closer than wherever they would have played out west, I don't buy it. And the Big Ten needs to take a look at when they play their championship game because they play it so close to when these brackets are released that the game really doesn't matter. The game if Michigan State could have lost by 100, they still would have been in the same spot. Michigan would have been in the same spot. So I think that was wrong. Last year, of course, Katie said 99% of the times the number 1 seeds win in the first round. Of course, last year Virginia lost to University of Maryland, Baltimore County by 20. Yes, they did. They're not in the tournament. Will a 1 seed lose in the first round? Probably not. Will a 2 seed? Probably not. But you always have those early upsets. I already filled out my bracket. As EJ said, I'm not going to divulge who I picked. We're going to put all those in and send me a picture. Text me a picture of your bracket. But Katie, you mentioned the 5-12 matchups. The 5-12 matchups as they are written right now: Mississippi State against Liberty, Marquette against Murray State, Wisconsin against Oregon, and Auburn against New Mexico State. There's always usually a couple 12s that win in that one as well as 11s. I do have some upsets in my bracket. I'm just going to give you a couple teams to watch out for. Watch out for Buffalo. Buffalo is a team. They're a 6th seed in the West. I think the West is a weaker bracket than most. Watch out for Buffalo. 31 wins this year. And watch out for Wofford. Now, they could have a trouble getting out of their region, taking on a very good Seton Hall team at 10, and then potentially Kentucky. But Wofford shoots the lights out. They play in that Southland Conference. I had a chance to see some of those games when I was in Greenville, South Carolina with Furman and UNC Greensboro. Watch out for Wofford. They're a tough team, and they're one to watch out for. Dave? What's your thoughts on bracketology? I know you're not the biggest college basketball fan. You're a Duke fan, unfortunately, which we won't hold that against you. But what's your thoughts before we go to EJ?
Well, I'll say right off the hop, and I'm going to respect EJ by not saying who I'm going to go with and get him through all my picks. But I think I'd be in agreement with everybody here that I don't think any 16th seed is going to beat any first seed. Okay, I really can't see that. So that's not secrets by any means. But in terms of your Katie with the 12 and 5 seed, I just got my eye on New Mexico. Okay, I'm just going to go with New Mexico State there. So that's all I'm going to say with my one thing. Butch, I know you're an Oregon guy. You know, let me just say, when it comes to Oregon against Washington,
they're winning
Wisconsin.
That game. Ducks are winning that game.
You know, that's all I'm going to say. That when it comes to Buffalo, interesting that you said that all their wins actually looked at Buffalo. It is definitely a team to watch. Another team that I am definitely keeping an eye out for, and people are going to ask why I'm crazy. I just been looking at things. They're 13th seed, St. Louis.
Oh.
Okay, I just kind of did a little back research.
The Billikens.
I'm going to look at the St. Louis side of things. Can they beat the Virginia Tech, though? I don't know.
That's Paul's team.
But if they can beat Virginia Tech, that's what I'm trying to say here. So I like how the tournament's going to go. I know some people may not be a fan, especially when it comes to the Duke things. Hey, that's okay. People can be jealous of Duke. I understand. They got some great talent there in Duke. I'm excited to be a Duke fan. This is a big year. I've seen championships in Duke, and I love the team that they have put together here with the Blue Devils. And overall in these brackets, it seems there's a lot of possibility for some teams that are lower seeds to beat their higher seed, but not 16, not really 15, not even necessarily 14. But when you have the 13th seed, and then you have the 12th and 11th seed, and even the 10th seed going, all those kind of matchups, you have a lot of people that are going to be surprised. And in that first week of matchups, you're going to have people saying, oh, dang, my bracket's destroyed.
Mine always is.
And that's the way it's most likely to go for everyone, including myself, most likely. But, there's a lot of good underdog teams to watch. And when it comes to the big teams, you got UNC, you got Duke, you got Gonzaga. I like Michigan. That's all I'm going to say when it comes to Michigan and Gonzaga. I like Michigan. So, a very good tournament in terms of where the underdogs can play, but also the big dogs are going to be the big dogs.
Let's go to EJ Russell on the hot seat, sponsored by Riverside Toyota in Escanaba. EJ, your Buckeyes made it in as an 11 seed. I do have them winning in the first game. Just to throw that spoiler out there. EJ Russell, your thoughts on March Madness?
Well, I'll start with this. I'm not picking Ohio State to get out of the first round. I think that's one of the mistakes that the tournament made. I thought they should have penciled in Belmont there. I thought Ohio State should have been playing Temple in the play-in game. I just don't think Ohio State is a tournament team this year when I watched them play. And I think Belmont is a lot better than people are giving credit for. They're 26-5 this year. But talking about upsets, and Katie pointed out the 5-12 matchup. And I'll tell you right now that I'm going to pencil in this 12 over the 5. And that's Murray State versus Marquette. Murray State has a young talent and a player named John Morant, and this dude can jump out of the gym. He is electric and can change the game with his energy in one quick play. And he's fantastic. He's an NBA draft prospect. Keep an eye on him. I think he'll make some noise in this tournament. I do think that they'll win that game versus the Marquette team that I've watched struggle in conference games this year. But I think that the biggest kerfuffle has to be Michigan State going up against Duke. I think if you would have put Kentucky there and Michigan State down in the Midwest, I think that would have ended up with a very interesting Elite Eight scenario. You could have had North Carolina, one of the greats, versus Michigan State, another one of the greats, and Duke, Kentucky. You could have had some really cool matchups there in teams that you want to watch play against each other. And I think those would have been big draws. I think that would have been a nice switch, and both sides would have been happy. I think Michigan State could have lived with North Carolina. Kentucky, I don't think is that good. I think they should have been paired up against Duke anyways. They didn't win their tournament, and they got off to a rough start, which they usually do. But Michigan and Gonzaga look to have the easiest paths there. But Murray State and John Morant, keep an eye on that specific scenario. I do think Virginia Tech can move on. Dave brought up that game. However, I've watched them play against Miami a couple of times this year in Miami. Florida was not a great basketball team, and Virginia Tech looked rough at times there. So that could be a possibility for an up there against St. Louis. We'll see what happens there. But other than that, I think that the NCAA did a mostly good job. I'd say they got about 80% of this bracket right. So we'll see what happens. I won't give you my final four because I want to beat you all, and I respect you too much to disgrace you that way. So I'm not going to comment.
Appreciate the respect, EJ. Katie, your thoughts on your own topic before we have a mini topic to end the game. Or the game, yeah, literally.
All right. Well, Dave, if you can just clarify for me again. I don't have a bracket in front of me, but I believe Oregon is 12th.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go with them too, just like you kind of think you, Scott. And because their defense, they're top 15 in defensive efficiency. You know, I touched on that. And, 62 points a game, that's all they allow. And to me, that's going to go a long way.
Quack.
In terms of bracket busting in the first round, I'm going to go there. But in terms of top four, I'm going to go with Duke, Buffalo, Virginia, and Houston.
Buffalo?
Yes.
Wow.
So you have
Final four?
Number one seeds. But the main reason why I chose Virginia is also, because of their defense. They allow 54 points per game from their opponent. And I know college, they play a lot better defense than you say the NBA. NBA averaging, 100?
Listen, LeBron's out there.
Yeah. But that's the best number overall. They're number one in defense. And I think that's probably why they got the number one seed right there. And I threw in Houston as well because they allow 61 points per game, and they're just under 50% in field goal.
31 wins?
Yep, and Buffalo being the 6th seed, but they're top 5 in offensive efficiency, and Duke also in the top 8 for offense. So I have the two number one seeds, Virginia and Duke. You have Houston, a 3rd seed, Buffalo, a 6th seed for my Final Four, and best of the best for the national championship.
Well, there you go, and we'll unveil our brackets next week when I'm sure they're all busted up. But we have time for a mini topic. I'm going to punt on this one, but I want to bring it up because I know there's been a lot of NFL free agent signings. We don't have a lot of time. Butch, I'm going to go to you. Let's try to make it at least 2 minutes for Butch, Dave, and EJ to try to wrap up the NFL free agency. Butch, you mentioned on your show the Lions and some of their picks. Jesse James, I love that pick as tight end for the Detroit Lions. But Butch, I'll go to you first, and then Dave, and then EJ. NFL free agency in 2 minutes. Your thoughts?
I'm going to screw it all up here for everybody. Katie is the only one who had brains around here, that where picks and whatever it may be. And I talked to Nate Oates this afternoon here, and I came home aching and screaming, and, congratulating them. Because Nate Oates is from the Romulus section of the downriver section of Michigan there. I got to give it to my buddy there. I gotta tell you, I was saving it for last for tomorrow, but I'm giving it to you all live and in color here tonight. Here, Nate Oates. I had a conversation with him. That'll give you a tease to listen to it tomorrow, huh, boys and girls?
Yes.
Yeah. Buffalo, moo. I think the NFL kind of catastrophe. It's a good thing you're picking this subject instead of the NBA or something there. It's really intelligent of you, Scott.
Thank you.
I think the Detroit Lions did a pretty doggone good job, and I think more is coming on the cycle there. As it was, again, I mentioned 541 players, free agents there. A lot of them have not gotten picked. I think it's going to be a lot of work this week with some of those players on free agency getting picked. I'm just looking at today that Cincinnati just released hard-hitting linebacker Vontaze Buffett. He got released today, so somebody's going to grab him like a hot doggone bologna sandwich here with pickles on it there, and they're going to have a pretty good doggone linebacker there. It's a lot that's going on here. It's too early to tell how teams are forming up. Fitzpatrick got picked today. He's going to Miami instead of going from Tampa Bay to Miami. Not far away, but far enough to get another paycheck. And that's going to be a surprise for a lot of people there. But I think the doggone NFL free agency thing is going off pretty doggone well indeed there. I know the Lions got signed a couple of players today. I haven't really looked into it very quick, but again, if I get a rebuttal, I went over my 2 minutes.
That's all right, Butch. We'll let you. Dave, this is going to be real interesting to see if he can keep it within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Before we go to EJ, I know EJ is so excited to talk about his Browns, as he should. Dave, your Steelers, they're going everywhere. Your thoughts on the NFL free agency?
You know what? I'm going to leave Cleveland for EJ, bud. I got to say congrats. I think they're having an off season to be pumped for. That city should be pumped. They might win the division this year. I still believe in Pittsburgh. They bringing in Dante Moncrief, having Juju there, Ben still at the helm, Connor. You know, they're going to make the moves necessary. Hopefully, they try to get in the running for Barry. I know Barry's visited the Cowboys today, so I kind of like to see them improve the defensive end of the football. The Lions, good offseason. Patricia knows what he's doing over there, let me tell you. You know, the Jets getting Le'Veon Bell, thank God it wasn't the Raiders. Going back to the Steelers, Brown for a 3rd and a 7th. They couldn't wait to get rid of Brown for some reason. You know why they had to do that? I know everyone's wondering why we didn't get what we wanted, because Brown would have nixed every trade if it wasn't named Oakland on it. So we had to get rid of him for something, and he's a little drama queen. And like Don Cherry says, karma hurts, my friend. Karma hurts. And when Derek he was playing NFL Madden, Antonio Brown, he caught a touchdown in the Madden game. He says, let's go. And when the day Derek Carr can throw that type of reception to Antonio Brown, and when Antonio Brown can have his head of his rear end and know that he's not the best receiver in football anymore, and that guy is Odell Beckham, who is now a Brown, let me tell you right now, the Raiders got a good player there, but I'm still liking what Pittsburgh has, the Brown has. The overall offseason, the NFL has been fantastic, and I love it. I really think that the draft is going to be even more exciting. See who goes top and see who goes where and what trades happen there. The offseason's not done, folks. 2 minutes? That's a minute 10.
Not bad, Dave. I still play Tecmo Bowl, and Bo Jackson is outstanding in Tecmo Bowl, I might add, for the Raiders.
Minute 43.
Very good. EJ Russell, 2 minutes. NFL free agency, go.
I'll try my best. So I thought the Lions were absolutely winning free agency until my Cleveland Browns signed Odell Beckham Jr. and got him in a trade. And I'm really excited about that, and I'm really not at the same time. And here's why. I'm 60% for it, 40% on the fence. And that's because Odell Beckham Jr. is a player that needs to have his attitude in alignment with the rest of the team. And if that means that they all get hyped up, then they do that. But everyone needs to find a way to get on the same page. And if that happens, boy, I'll tell you, I'll pick my Browns to make it to the Super Bowl if that can work. If that gels right and they play well every game, and I'm not just saying, if they do. It's based purely on what happens in that locker room. The talent is there, but if they get along in that locker room, this team has the potential to make it to the Super Bowl, and I'll take them. All right, I'll do it. I'll pick the Browns to play the Patriots in the AFC Championship. And my God, are we going to get back to the Super Bowl while beating Belichick? That'd be something awesome for the Browns, too. That'll be a game that they're up for. So Browns looking really good, liking the moves they're making. I like the Tyrann Mathieu to the Chiefs. That's nice. I think that's a great addition. But I think Baltimore made some significant moves in adding Earl Thomas. That's their next Ed Reed type player that Harbaugh and that Ravens defense loves. And I also like them bringing in Mark Ingram. I think that makes a lot of sense. The attitude of the Saints and Ravens is very similar as far as the fan base goes, and that overpowering attitude that they carry and swagger that they bring into the game. I think that's a great fit. But Cleveland Browns are now a player, and we're still bringing in other talent. So watch out. Let's see what happens. It all is going to lie on Baker Mayfield. But the biggest piece of the puzzle still in Cleveland, I'll say, is Freddie Kitchens. And it looks like it's about 2 minutes. I'm done.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down to end the show. Ladies first. Katie Wollan, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week.
Well, I think Butch would definitely agree with this, being from the Detroit metropolitan area, the Detroit Pistons. I'm going to give them both my thumbs up and thumbs down. And I'm going to tell you why the thumbs down. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They lost to Miami and Brooklyn by 40 points per game. That's ridiculous. That's so inconsistent. You know, that's why the league ranks them the way they are, because they don't understand what they're actually going to end up doing when it comes playoff time, even though they have clinched almost, not yet, the 6th seed, but it's possible, 7th or 6th or 8th. And then, of course, winning, sorry, Dave, to the Toronto Raptors. Now, I know he's going to come back at me and say, oh, well, they didn't have Kyle Lowry and they didn't have Serge Ibaka. Well, too bad. That was a great win. They needed it. They had Kawhi Leonard, and he had 30-plus points. And
Stud.
And plus it was a sweep on top of that.
Yep.
You have for the 3-game sweep for the season, first since 2008 through 2009 decade. It's been a full decade, and I'm just really happy for them. And their first game into the season, they beat Toronto with all of them. You had Lowry, you had Ibaka, you had Leonard, you had everyone you needed. So no excuse for that first game. Second excuse would be for the second game would be there was no Leonard, and then
like to rest him once in a while.
Yeah, and then the third game, no Ibaka.
Jordan never got rested.
No Lowry.
No, he did not.
So that's my thumbs up and thumbs down. You can't lose by 40 points, but I'm also happy for what they're doing in Toronto and making history there.
Very good, Katie Wollan. I'll go next, and then Butch. My thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. First of all, to the Michigan State Spartans basketball team, a team that's had a lot of injuries, that's had a lot of adversity. They win the Big Ten. They win the Big Ten championship. One of their players went down the first half, went down pretty hard. The team rallied. Yeah, they got a little shafted maybe in the NCAA tournament, and they may not make it to the Final Four, but a great season for Sparty and a lot of character on that squad, and it was nice to see them beat Michigan 3 times in 21 days, I might add. So thumbs up, a lot of thumbs up for that. We'll say 3 for that one. Another thumbs up to, I think, my Cinderella story, a team I would love to see win their first game, Abilene Christian out of the Southland Conference. This was a team 6 years ago was Division II. They had to wait 4 years before they could even become eligible for the NCAA basketball tournament, and they make the big dance in their second year. They have a tough matchup in their bracket. I believe they take on Kentucky, but hey, they're there. I love it. Great story. Congratulations to Abilene Christian out of the Southland Conference. 2 thumbs down, first of all, to what happened to the Iron Mountain Mountaineers in the Division III basketball game. I understand officials are human and you make errors, but we've talked about it on this show. There has to be some accountability for officials and something, because those kids are going to be talking about this for a lifetime. As far as, they got jobbed. There's no two way about it. They got jobbed as well. And thumbs down to the Michigan High School Athletic Association and their decision to move the division or the girls championships to Calvin College. Now, there was a scheduling conflict with the Breslin Center. I understand that. And this is nothing against Calvin College or Grand Rapids or anything, but could you not have gotten a better venue for the girls where normally they play in the same venue as the boys, as they should? I mean, was Chrysler Arena not available? Was Central Michigan? Was Eastern Michigan? Western Michigan? Northern Michigan? Lake State? Grand Valley? You got to go to a D3 school, the road to the Van Noord Arena. It's embarrassing. I think the Michigan High School Athletic Association should be ashamed of themselves for being so, I'll just say it, sexist, because that's what it is. Butch Davis, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Boy, you slathered a lot of jelly on that peanut butter, buddy.
I did, didn't
I? and I concur there. That was my the flip side of the worst dog on thing. The M. Oh boy, I can't do it.
Didn't see that one coming, did you, Butch?
No, really not. The MSHA, whatever they call themselves these days here, they got to take a hard look at themselves and how they're doing things. I know they're trying to make leaps and bounds and trying to make themselves very noticeable with all the television and radio stuff and all the other little things they do. One of the bad things I think they do very badly here, they need to improve. And they need to get around the state more. They need to go up to Upper Peninsula. They need to come down here in metropolitan Detroit. They seem to do everything right around Lansing and whatever it may be, and that's their pick of the chick. And I have nothing against using a lot of people from Michigan State and the surrounding public schools around in that area. But, even down to their doggone the course of putting in the student alliance councils and what it may be. It is not represented fully by many of the kids who basically are up in the Upper Peninsula and here down south. That needs to improve. Yes, they need a stick of gum, besides whatever I want to say in my mouth. The thumbs up go to Blake Griffin for the Detroit Pistons. He opened his mouth, he showed some leadership and said, "You guys stink. Okay, you were going to have to do a better job because I want to go far in the playoffs because I want more money."
Let's go to Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario. 3 locations. Dave, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Now, I want to go thumbs down first. I want to go to not Ottawa because I had a great time this past weekend in Montreal and Ottawa, but the Canadian Tire Center. And here's why. The 3/4 of the stadium was Leaf fans, which is fantastic.
Sure.
Because we just pay the salary for all the Ottawa people in the Canadian Tire Center in that game. But it is not just the location of the arena, but the setup after the game. Now, my girlfriend and I that went down, we had to scramble in a bus to get down there, which was free to get down to the game, cool. But after the game, there is no way to get back. And when you're in Canada, Ontario, that's 35 minutes from Ottawa.
Wow.
Uber is no way in hell you're getting Uber. Sort of say hell, but that's the word that I want to use because
lift?
No way to get a lift.
Oh my!
No way to get a lift from Uber.
Greyhound?
Nothing. There's nothing down. We had to wait outside from 10 p.m. until 11:45 p.m. to get a car, an Uber, after everyone cleared out, freezing outside.
Did you cuddle? Did you guys cuddle?
That's non-disclosed.
All right.
That's but it had to keep warm. We had to keep it warm. She was wearing the Matthews T-shirt and a coat. I had just my long sleeve shirt and a jersey on. Okay,
you had your Wendell Clark jersey on?
John Tavares.
Okay,
and Tavares wasn't hot that night, so the jersey was quite freaking cold. Just like Austin Matthews' shirt. Yes. Okay, I'll say, even though Tavares scored, it still doesn't matter. He didn't play that well. And I want to say they need to get something done with that arena because it is a joke. It's a Canadian city, okay, and there's no business that Toronto fans can go into Ottawa unless it's the Florida Panthers or a team that can't get numbers that they can still sell out. Ottawa is supposed to be a big market base. It was in the late 90s when they joined. They need to get something done with that rink and fix the transportation area. That is absolute BS. I don't like that. You got to look out for your fans, despite that 3/4 of your fans are the opposing team.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my thumbs down is the location and the convenience for the Ottawa Senators organization and the Canadian Tire Center. But thank you, Ottawa, for your hospitality. Thumbs up, I want to say. Thumbs up to I kind of want to go to the Blue Jays spring training, and people are going to wonder why. I love seeing the young guns in action. Bo Bichette, Vlad got hurt, unfortunately. They're sending him down to minor league camp, calling him back up after. They're doing things right as Charlie Montoyo there with the Toronto Blue Jays, getting the young guys in. The team's going to absolutely suck this year, okay? We're probably going to finish last in the division. If we finish higher, I'll be happy with that, okay? But we have some young guns there at the helm. And, Devin Travis is already out 4 to 6 weeks with an injury. Not surprised. Next will be Aaron Sanchez with another blister. Okay, so things are going to come up there with the Blue Jays. And I will say right now, though, spring train, everything's to be optimistic about with all these young guns at the helm. I'm very excited. I didn't go my thumbs up in Toronto because their D-core and their team's allowed 23 goals in the last 4 games. They're playing like absolute SHIT. And the Raptors, they haven't been playing as good as they should be. Katie, to give you a response, they have not been well the last few weeks. This is a team that is not showing they want to be first seed in the conference over the Bucks. If they play like this going to the playoffs, they're not going to go where people think to the finals. So they need to smarten up. So no thumbs up in any other Toronto team unless you're the Blue Jays. And like I said, thumbs down to the Senators and Canadian Tire Center.
Let's go to EJ Russell on the hot seat, sponsored by Riverside Toyota in Escanaba. EJ, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week before we wrap up the show.
Well, I think my thumbs up for the week has got to be Michigan State. Yes, they got hosed, absolutely hosed in who they got to match up against in order to make the Final Four. But good on them. Regular season co-champions, I believe it was, with Purdue, if not the champions, and then they won the Big Ten tournament, beating Michigan 3 times this year. So good on them to get as far as they have and the success they've had. Thumbs down for the week, I have to say, goes to the Michigan High School Athletic Association and the way that the end of that Iron Mountain game was handled. That was just very poor.
Let's go around the horn to end the show. Katie, we'll start with you. What's going on at the Eagle? I know lots of.
Yes, I'm gonna steal.
Oh
your
wow,
thunder
you're
here
just
because
gonna cut me off.
Yes, because I know where you're leading with this, and I really.
You're gonna put the brakes on me?
I am.
All right, tell us what's going on in your world. How about that?
Well, I mean, it's going pretty well, of course, but I wanted to mention it last week, but he wasn't here. Dave McCaig was not here, so I wanted to put it off until.
In spirit, it was.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Spirit, I was.
But I am the only American sales rep along with Tim, so it's nice to now have Dave as our Canadian sales rep.
Dave on our sales team.
So
How about that?
we're super excited because.
Very excited.
And he probably has good things to say about himself or not.
Yes, he does.
But I mean, from our perspective, we're like super excited because of how high his energy is. He's just a go person. He has, I wouldn't say so many jobs, but he has so many extracurricular things. So we're just looking forward to someone that's just overall hardworking, just loves radio, loves all of it, and we
very excited to bring my connections from Sault, Ontario, and bring the Game Sports Show's partnership with Eagle all in one to be a juggernaut in the Twin Saults.
Very good, Katie. Thanks for doing double duty tonight, board opting, and joining us here at the Wicked Sister. We'll talk to you next week here.
Yes, you will. Thank you, Scott.
All right, let's
Sorry for cutting you off.
That's all right. Let's go to Butch Davis. Again, you can hear Butch's show, Butch on Sports, here on our podcast page, thegamesportshow.com or thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or go to his podcast page, simply Butch2, that's TOO.podomatic.com. Butch, you got a special edition tomorrow afternoon talking more about brackets. What else is in store for you this week, sir?
A lot more on brackets, a lot more on maybe some football news per se there, and we'll have what I call a timeout segment where basically you can spit your guts on out here and just let it fly here. We haven't done that in a good while. I haven't done it in a good while. Just spit my guts out there, and you kind of wonder. One of the things we want to spit our guts out is you just kind of wonder when the coach said that he would pay for dinner for Iron Mountain, and the NCAA put their hammer down very quickly. Is that the reason why that Michigan State's not in the West?
Ooh.
We'll discuss that tomorrow, okay, on the special edition of Butch on Sports there.
Butch, I can't wait. I'm glad you're healing up, and we'll talk to you next week here at the Wicked Sister for another edition of the game.
We sure will. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Dave McCaig. He should have done what Trump does and just get a bunch of fast food and just throw it in the White House and have everybody pick up. But I digress. Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario. What's in store for you this week, my friend?
First, I want to say thanks to Katie for that lovely, announcement to join Eagle.
Breaking news.
Very exciting. Obviously working full time, then doing the show here and everything to fit that in I'm very excited to fit that in and help out Eagle and also help out the show more as well with all the continued work that we have with Eagle. So be great. But moving on from that, besides getting all soft with saying thank you to Katie and to you, Scott, and to Timmy, the show this week. We got shows this week. We're back to finally doing 4 shows into the week. We had a couple weeks there where we were scheduling here. We were scheduling the Icebreakers. Sports Center, we went bi-weekly for a couple weeks because of the off-season. Then, obviously, Northern, we had to reschedule last week because I was in Ottawa, Montreal. I want to say thank you to the listeners, one thing, because a lot of rescheduling, a lot of saying we're going to do something and last-minute cancellations. We had to delay our contest giveaway until this week. We had a lot of things going on. So thank you to the listeners and everything of such, and to my other co-hosts, including Scott, putting up with my rescheduling nonsense. But we're going to have a show tomorrow at Icebreakers, 8 o'clock. We do have myself and Brad planned, Justin and Dane to be determined to be at Icebreakers to cover the local sports. Wednesday, 9 p.m. as always, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Myself and Jamie will be there for sure. We may have Matt Primo, Justin Heichel, and Dustin Grondin as well. Stacked crew at Sports Center.
Cast 1,000.
Cast 1,000 at Sports Center. The original show since 2015 there. Gotta say that.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, we will be at Northern Superior Brewing Company, myself, Dane, and Justin for sure. We do plan to have Colin Miller on this week. He did message me today and said he'll confirm tomorrow, be either this week or next week for sure, depending on his schedule. And that show will be actually at 5 p.m. on Thursday. It's going to be an hour earlier because yours truly has to come over the border and starts his busy playoff stint of hockey in 2 different men's leagues and tournament hockey here in Sault, Michigan. And hopefully I can still get over the border after my episode today.
Yeah,
at
check
the
that
border.
passport out.
And so that will be this week. So we have 3 shows planned there, so make sure you don't miss anything. Keep an eye on our social media pages, people. Instagram, at the Game Sports Show SM, and at the Game Sports Show on Facebook, because the contest giveaway is going to be massive. It's going to be just as big, if not bigger, than the previous one.
And you can hear all shows at thegamesportshow.com. EJ Russell, what's up with you this week down in Escanaba?
Well, your guys' lives are far more exciting than mine. I'm just getting ready to run my annual NCAA pool with the locals here and some of my close friends. There may or may not be a prize involved, so just throwing that out there. But just excited for the NCAA tournament. Excited for baseball to get closer here. Getting ready to get into baseball season. I'm excited to see what happens in Philadelphia. Excited to see what the changes can look like in San Diego. So just getting ready for the spring season, the NBA to wrap up. And let's see how that playoff picture unfolds, like in the Milwaukee Bucks right now.
Thank you, EJ, and yours truly here has a couple broadcasts of Sioux Eagles playoff hockey on Hockey TV, or just go to myhockeytv.com. Sioux Eagles will take on Rayside Balfour Thursday and Friday, games 3 and 4 at Puller Stadium. You can find the podcast of the audio podcast, I should say, at thegamesportshow.com. And a personal note, my full-time job, we had our open house for the Sault Ste. Marie Clubhouse. We did unveil our new name. We are now known as the Water's Edge Clubhouse here in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, being that we're right at the foot of the locks.
Love
the members
that.
there at the clubhouse decided that it was Water's Edge, and so very proud moment for me being the director and the members. It's going great. It's helping so many people in this area finding themselves and just finding a place to go to feel valued. And it's a great facility, and I'm very proud to be a part of it, as well as this show.
Love that.
With each one of you. Katie Wollan, Dave McCaig here at the Wicked Sister, Butch Davis, and EJ Russell online. I want to thank all of you for joining us, and we'll be back here next week, next Monday night, for another edition of the game here on Eagle 95.1.
See ya.